They didn't expect her to speak. Truth is, they didn't even expect her to understand. When Janelle Carter stepped onto that stage in her scuffed work shoes and janitor's uniform, edges frizzed from sweat, hands still smelling like lemon cleaner, the room didn't go quiet because of anticipation. It went quiet because no one knew who she was or why she was there. She wasn't on the schedule. She wasn't in heels. And to them, she sure as hell wasn't part of the program. A few turned and whispered, "Is she lost?" Someone in the back laughed under their breath. And then, just loud enough to be heard across the banquet tables, a man in a blue suit said, "What is this? Amateur night at the Apollo?" Laughter rippled. Tight. Sharp. Controlled. The kind of laugh that doesn't come from humor, but from knowing you're in a room where people think you don't belong. But Janelle didn't flinch, didn't shrink. She looked out at the audience, CEOs, professors, board members, all waiting for someone to pull her off stage. But no one moved. So she spoke, calm, clear, with a southern accent that rolled like home. "My name is Janelle Carter. I know I ain't on the list, and I know my voice don't sound like Harvard. But today, I came to speak anyway." The room stopped breathing. Phones lifted, eyebrows raised, because somehow, in just one sentence, the woman they had dismissed had already taken control. What she said next, it didn't just silence the laughter, it forced a room full of privilege to finally listen before the mop, before the uniform, before the long nights scrubbing floors no one remembered walking on. Janelle Carter was a teacher, not just any teacher. She was the kind of teacher who made you believe in your own voice. In a classroom on the south side of Atlanta, in a school where half the lights flickered and textbooks came from donations, she taught 7th graders how to find their rhythm in poetry. "Don't just read the words," she'd say. "Feel 'em. Let 'em live in your chest." She wore hoop earrings and carried a canvas tote bag covered in quotes from Maya Angelou and Audre Lorde. She co-wrote a children's poetry workbook called Black Boys Speak, used in after-school programs across Fulton County. Her students called her Miss C. Her co-workers called her the Anchor. Her son Malik called her Mama the Wordsmith. But anchors get heavy when no one helps carry the load. Budget cuts came like wrecking balls. The principal who used to fight for her left for a private school. A new district head came in, looked at test scores, and started restructuring. They laid off art, then music, then language enrichment. And Janelle, despite 10 years of perfect evaluations was told, "We're moving in a new direction. You're a cultural asset, but not a curriculum priority." Translation: you make kids feel proud, but we can't measure that on a graph. They offered her a sub-list spot. She declined with grace and grief. She worked odd jobs, after-school tutoring, bookstore shifts, voiceovers for local radio, until the rent caught up with reality. Then one morning, she saw a flyer taped to a city bus stop. "Now hiring, custodial crew, Tech Bridge Conference Center, full-time, nights." She stared at it for a long time, not because she felt shame, but because she realized something that hurt more than pride. She had gone from helping children find their voices to becoming the kind of person people talked over, walked past, looked through. Still, she applied. Still, she showed up. Still, she cleaned. Because Malik needed groceries. Because the lights don't stay on with poetry. Inside Tech Bridge, she kept her head down. People called her ma'am, cleaning lady, or sometimes just nodded like she was part of the furniture. No one asked if she used to write. No one asked if she still did. But in the quiet, between wiping countertops and scrubbing restroom tiles, she whispered poems into her phone again. Little verses, bits of lines, truths too sharp for silence. She didn't do it for fame. She did it so she wouldn't forget who she really was. And maybe, just maybe, so one day, if the moment came, she'd be ready to speak again. The Tech Bridge Gala was supposed to be a celebration of voices shaping tomorrow. But for Janelle Carter, that night would echo for an entirely different reason. She arrived early, like always. Hair pulled into a neat bun, steel-toed shoes clean, head low. The venue sparkled, crystal chandeliers, round tables draped in velvet, name tags with titles like Senior Strategist and Equity Advisor. Each one more ironic than the last. Janelle's job was to stay out of sight, clean the restrooms before the rush, restock hand towels, be invisible. And she was, until she wasn't. About 20 minutes before the keynote speaker was set to go on, a tech intern dropped a lavalier mic near the side of the stage. It skidded across the floor and landed right at Janelle's feet. She bent down, picked it up carefully, walked it back over, and said, in a voice both soft and southern, "This belong to y'all?" The tech intern, a 24-year-old with a wireless headset and too much gel in his hair, raised an eyebrow and smirked. "Well, look who wants a mic now." The joke could have stopped there, but it didn't. 3 interns nearby laughed. One of them, a white girl named Kaylee from the marketing team, whipped out her phone and hit record. "Ladies and gentlemen," she whispered dramatically, "tonight's surprise guest, Miss Janitor 2024. She turned the camera toward Janelle. "Say something inspiring?" Janelle, not fully understanding what was happening, offered a shy smile. Sound check?" They burst out laughing. "She's really trying," Kaylee giggled. "Somebody get her a stage and a Swiffer." The video was 14 seconds long. The caption read, "When the cleaning crew thinks they're the keynote, within an hour it had 12,000 views. By midnight it was climbing past 90,000. Janelle didn't know, not at first, but she felt it. The way eyes lingered longer, the way laughter suddenly stopped when she walked by, the way Harper Knox, the lead host for the night, brushed past her in the hallway and said loud enough for others to hear, "Let's not confuse diversity with delusion, folks." Laughter. Polite, polished, weaponized. Janelle stood near the mop closet, holding a bottle of floor cleaner and biting the inside of her cheek. She didn't ask for this. She hadn't stepped out of line. She hadn't spoken out of turn. She'd just picked up a microphone. And somehow, that was enough to make her a punchline. Later that night, while wiping down the mirrored wall near the back of the ballroom, she overheard 2 guests talking. "Did you see that video? The janitor chick with the accent?" "Yeah, man. Crazy thing is, she really thought she belonged. That one landed harder than all the others. Not because it was loud, but because it was honest." She went home that night later than usual. Didn't speak much to Malik, who was still awake gaming in the next room. Didn't eat dinner. She just sat at the foot of her bed and opened her phone. There it was, the video. Her face, frozen mid-sentence. Comment section lit up with laughing emojis, gifs of cleaning sprays, and captions like, "When dreams smell like pine sol." Janelle stared at it. For a long time. Then she whispered something into the dark. "If they scared of me with a mic in my hand, Maybe I've been quiet too long." Janelle didn't say a word the next day at work, not when someone snickered by the break room, not when a coworker half-jokingly said, "You famous now, huh?" She just nodded, wiped down the coffee station, and kept moving. But something had changed. Not on her face, not in her posture. Inside, something quiet, but unshakable. That night, after Malik had gone to bed, hoodie on, headphones blasting NBA 2K, Janelle sat alone at the kitchen table with nothing but her phone, a stack of old notebooks, and a chipped ceramic mug that said, "Speak truth, even if your voice shakes." She hadn't looked at those notebooks in years. They were full of poems, lesson plans, scribbled affirmations she used to read to her students back when she was Miss C, standing tall in front of a dry erase board with chalk dust on her palms and passion in her chest. She flipped through page after page, and then stopped. One page read, "My tongue is not broken. It's braided, with roots." That line hit different now. She reached into her bag and pulled out an old USB stick, plugged it into Malik's laptop, clicked on a folder marked Poetry Workshop, 2015, Final Talk. There she was, younger, brighter, more confident. Her voice rang out through the cheap speakers like it had never left. "You don't have to sound like them to be heard. You just have to mean what you say." She paused the video. "Let it hang in the air." Then she stood up, walked to the hallway mirror, and spoke. "My name is Janelle Carter. I may clean your floors, but I don't answer to dirt." She cringed, too aggressive. Started again. "My name is Janelle Carter. I used to teach you young black boys how to make metaphors out of pain. And I'm still teaching, just with different tools. Better. Still shaky." She tried again. "I'm not here 'cause I talk right. I'm here 'cause I got something worth saying." That one stuck. She said it again, louder. "I'm not here 'cause I talk right. I'm here 'cause I got something worth saying." She practiced for hours, not to erase her accent, not to make her voice sound more professional, but to let it sound like her, unfiltered, undiluted, unafraid. She wrote down a speech, short but strong. No big words, just real ones. And at the very top of the page, in bold letters, she scribbled, "If they gonna talk about me holding a mic, then I'ma give 'em something worth remembering." The next morning, she packed the paper in her purse. Didn't plan to use it. But something told her. The world had already given her a stage. It just didn't know it yet. The Tech Bridge Summit was running behind schedule. The keynote speaker, some big-name tech executive from Silicon Valley, had missed his connecting flight. Backstage, the event team scrambled. The MC, Harper Knox, rubbed his temples and muttered, "We need 10 minutes of content, or this thing ends with a shrug." An intern offered, "We could run another highlight reel." "No," Harper snapped. "We need a person, a voice." That's when Chloe, the same marketing intern who'd watched Janelle practice in the hallway mirror 2 nights ago, quietly raised her hand. "I know someone who's ready." Laughter rippled through the tech crew. "Don't tell me, Janitor Barbie again?" one joked. But Chloe didn't blink. "She's got something to say, and trust me, if you don't let her say it, this event will be remembered for all the wrong reasons." There was a pause. Then Harper sighed. "Fine, 5 minutes. But I'm not taking responsibility if this turns into a meme." The ballroom dimmed. The chatter faded. Harper returned to the stage, tapping the mic. Due to travel complications, our keynote speaker couldn't join us. But in a moment of adaptability, and in the spirit of what this summit is supposed to be about, we've invited someone unexpected. Please welcome Janelle Carter. Silence. You could hear a fork drop on china. In the back, someone whispered, "Are they serious right now?" But the laughter stopped when Janelle stepped into the light. Same uniform, same work boots. But she walked like she owned every inch of the hardwood floor beneath her. No headset, just a handheld mic and a folded piece of paper in her back pocket. She paused at center stage, scanned the crowd, and spoke. "I know I don't look like the folks y'all expected to hear from tonight. I ain't got no fancy slides or degrees from places y'all brag about. But I got a voice. And I got a reason to use it." A few guests shifted in their seats. Phones started to rise, but not to laugh, to record. "My name is Janelle Carter. I used to teach 7th grade English on the South Side. Taught kids how to turn pain into poetry, how to use their voice, even when the world told them to hush. Now I mop floors in buildings where the word equity is printed on banners, but not practiced in break rooms." A few gasps. But she didn't stop. "I got filmed the other night, not because I did something wild, but because I picked up a mic and had the nerve to speak. And let me tell you, the only thing funnier than folks laughing at me is the fact that it took that video for y'all to finally see me." The room went still. But see, I ain't bitter. 'Cause my grandma used to say, "Baby, if they laughing while you standing tall, that means you already louder than their fear." Someone near the front wiped a tear. "I wrote this speech for no one, just in case. And now that I'm here, I want to use it." She pulled the folded page from her pocket. Didn't read it, just held it. "Y'all talk about inclusion. Talk about representation. But if you don't recognize the power in the voices you overlook, then your diversity ain't nothing but decoration. Broken English still prays over children, still pays bills, still tells stories that save generations. And this voice right here," she tapped her chest, "it might not sound like Harvard, but it sounds like home. It sounds like truth." There was a moment of stillness. Then, one clap, another. And then the room stood. Every person. Not because they were told to, but because something in Janelle's voice made it impossible to stay seated. Even Harper Knox. She stepped off that stage the same way she stepped on. With purpose. But this time, not one person asked if she was lost. The first clip hit Twitter 17 minutes after she stepped off stage. A woman in a navy blue janitor's uniform, standing under stage lights, speaking truth with fire in her voice and pain in her history. The caption read, "This woman just shut down the Tech Bridge Summit with no slides, no title, just truth. I'll never forget it." By sunrise, it had 1.8 million views. By lunch, it was being stitched on TikTok, reposted on Instagram, and analyzed on LinkedIn. Journalists called it the mic that changed the room. Hashtags flooded in. Janelle Carter, the voice they ignored, broken English, truth, from janitor to keynote. But Janelle, she was back home, sweeping her tiny kitchen floor. She didn't even know she was trending until Malik came barreling out of his room yelling, "Mama, you broke the internet!" She laughed, not because she didn't believe it, but because in her heart, she'd broken through long before the internet ever noticed. TechBridge released a public statement 2 days later. They praised her speech. They distanced themselves from the staff involved in the original mocking video, including Kaylee, who resigned after her TikTok account was flooded with backlash. Harper Knox? He released a video of his own. Sitting stiff in a suit and tie, he said, "I judged Ms. Carter by her job title, not by her wisdom. I was wrong, and I'm learning from that." Some said it was PR. Others said it was overdue. But Janelle? She didn't need an apology. She had already moved on. The biggest shift came at Tech Bridge headquarters itself. The following Monday, a new initiative was announced. The Carter Mic, a monthly platform for staff at every level to share personal stories of resilience and truth. Guess who they invited to lead the first session? Janelle walked back into that same building where people used to avoid eye contact. But this time, they said her name. They held the door open. They asked questions. And more importantly, they listened. She no longer carried a mop. She carried a clipboard, a schedule, and a new job title: Director of Voice Equity and Community Engagement. The title wasn't what moved her. What moved her was this. In the first session she hosted, a 19-year-old cafeteria worker stood up, voice trembling, and said, "Miss Carter, I thought nobody in this place would ever look at someone like me and call us leaders. But now, I know better." Outside of Tech Bridge, the impact kept growing. A local college invited her to give a commencement speech. 2 podcast networks reached out for interviews. One radio host opened her segment with, "She spoke for 5 minutes and made the whole country look in the mirror." At home, Malik printed a screenshot of her trending hashtag and taped it to the fridge. "So I can remember what a real mic drop looks like," he said. One night, Janelle received an email from an old colleague, a principal she used to work with, who'd always believed in her. "We never replaced what you gave those kids," it read. "If you ever want your classroom back, it's yours." She stared at the screen, then closed the laptop. Not to say no, but because for the first time in a long time, her voice was reaching further than any classroom could hold. The screen fades in. Janelle Carter sits on the stoop of her apartment building, same one she's lived in for nearly 10 years. It's evening. The sun is setting slow, bathing the bricks in warm orange light. She's not dressed up, no makeup, no spotlight, just her. A notebook in her lap, a pen between her fingers, and a silence that holds weight. She looks straight at the camera and speaks. "They used to laugh at how I spoke. Said I sounded too street, too southern, too emotional. Said I needed to clean up my accent if I wanted to be taken seriously." She pauses. "But here's the thing. No one tells you. It's not your voice they're afraid of. It's your story, your truth, your fire. The rhythm in your words that doesn't need a podium or a degree to hit people where it matters." She closes the notebook gently. "So if you're watching this, and you've ever been told you were too loud, too raw, too different, don't shrink. That's not your cue to go silent. That's your signal to speak louder." A child's laughter echoes from somewhere off-screen, distant but real. She smiles faintly, then continues. "Your voice doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours. Don't wait to be invited to the stage. Sometimes the most powerful speeches happen when you're not supposed to speak at all. I was called a janitor with broken English, but the only thing broken was their ability to listen." She looks down, rubs the edge of the notebook. "Now, I don't speak to prove anything. I speak because silence ain't safety. Silence is where they bury your brilliance. She looks up one last time, eyes steady. So speak. Even if they laugh, even if your voice shakes, even if you stumble on every word, speak anyway, because one day, the same people who called you a joke, she leans in slightly. They'll call you the one who changed everything. Fade to black. On screen. Dedicated to every voice they tried to silence. Your voice matters, especially when they tell you it doesn't. Have you ever been told your voice didn't belong because of your accent, your background, or the way you speak? Share your story in the comments. Let's show the world our voices matter, not because they're perfect, but because they're ours. Drop a comment, like, and follow for more stories that speak truth.